The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello and welcome, Charlie Hall. Charlie, you're running for Representative of Ward 7. How's that going?
It's going excellent. Better experience than I thought I would have.
Good.
I had a lot of. I want to thank everyone up front on the front line that gave me a hand getting it started. I worked with Bill Ohm, yourself. Beth Scares took over the responsibilities of managing my media and helping me get through all of that. So she set up my Facebook page and all of that. Yeah, it was really, really good. And I got, volunteers that have, agreed to help, and we'll be walking after I get my walk books tomorrow. We'll be heading out on the street. So I got some volunteers helping me there. And the other piece of this is that really kind of set me up for success was the outpouring in the primary. I had my signs. I put up signs. Nobody knew who I was, so I needed name recognition. So I put my signs up strategically, and I think I was this. Governor Sununu was the only one that had more votes than I did in the primary, and everybody that came through, because we were at the polls, they would see my sign and go, "Oh yeah, I know you." And I said, "Oh, okay, we're off to a good start, and it's going well." Really well.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, what got you started?
So I had some friends of mine that were telling me these stories about what was going on in Concord, and it's just my nature. I need to go get my own facts because I don't want to make a determination without the facts. So over about a 10-month period, I was in and out of all of the hearings. And from that, I said, this is actually worse than they were telling me. And as I was mentioning, you have elected officials. They talk to the constituents. They get themselves elected. They put their hand on the Bible and say, I'm going to, support and defend the Constitution, both, the state Constitution, the U.S. Constitution. And then they go to Concord and just violate it every day. And most of the hearings that I was sitting in were the bills that Governor Sununu vetoed. Almost all of them were constitutional violations. So I kind of said, this is not what New Hampshire needs, and the direction we're headed is not the direction of success for New Hampshire.
Right.
And I decided to run.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good because we needed somebody. 57 vetoes last year, and then. Less this year, but only because they combined them into one.
Yeah, if you separated, I think it was more.
It would have been more. Yeah, and they were even more expensive than last time.
Right.
It is a shame how they don't pay attention to that.
One of the things that I was really surprised to see was how much effort goes into drafting a bill, putting it together, sending it between the House and the Senate, making the changes, and then the final product gets voted on, and because of its content is vetoed. Here's an example: the red flag law. If you stripped out all of the constitutional violations, would have protected the most vulnerable. That's what its intent was. Right. So now we have the most vulnerable population that has no protection.
Right.
In the Constitution violations was stripping the law-abiding citizen, not penalizing the person that was doing harm.
Right.
So, and it was across the board. So we had 67 or 68?
I don't know.
If you stripped out the ones that were doubled up,
right? Yeah,
you got over 60. It's more than the 57 of the previous year.
Right.
So I'm looking at that, and again, I was asking the question: what does it actually cost the taxpayers to put all of these bills through that are going to end up doing nothing?
Quite hard, and they work those guys. We only have 16 lawyers up there writing the legislation.
Right.
And that's also why at the end, before the governor sees the final bill,
Right.
they get one more legal brushing, if you will, to put the correct words in the right order in the legislation. So the law is written to a certain code, if you will.
Yeah, I think one of the things. So my platform covers all constitutional rights, and the reason for that is when I'm going to look at a bill to vote on, if it doesn't pass the constitutional litmus test, the answer is no.
Right.
And it shouldn't even get that far. Somebody should be taking that bill and saying, this isn't going to pass. Nobody's going to.
Unfortunately, the legislators have the last word on it, but I guess it's not the last word. The governor has the last word on it.
Right.
But yeah, the people really have to do what the legislator wants and the wording and everything. And it is those people aren't the ones that should be educated, I guess, on the Constitution.
Well, I'm already educated on it, so.
Well, there you go. I hope to see some good stuff coming out of you.
I'll be making sure, telling everybody, this doesn't pass the litmus test of the constitutional rights. The answer is no.
Well, you looked at a lot of committees. That you pick one that you like to be on?
I haven't decided yet, because here's what's happened. I was looking at more of the bills that were, because a lot of the friends of mine, they're hunters and whatnot. So they're the ones that were saying, it's really funny because people say, well, somebody's got to do something. So I guess it was me. And that's okay. But so I was looking at that and I was saying, I would probably get on the Fish and Game Committee. I have a grandson that's really interested in, and he's done a lot of work. So I wanted to get on that committee and make sure that, I understood what was going on and I could help him out. But recently, in talking with some of the voters in Ward 7, and part of it has to do with this coronavirus issue in education, I started to get deeper into that. So now I'm looking at the education issues. A lot of the voters are saying, I'm really concerned. I have people in Ward 7 that have charter schools have seen that this funding didn't get approved. Now they're worried about their children not being able to go. But the other piece of it that I connected was, I connected the taxation. I connected the income tax and sales tax with the education. Because without the funding, your education is going to continue to decline. And then you look across the state, and now you have, on the 2 calls last night, you have these pockets of communities with unbelievable education, plenty of money, and other areas that are not so well off to be able to afford the education they're looking for. But one thing that came out the other day was, I think the people in New Hampshire need to get a little bit more, not completely involved. I think the legislators and senators can handle that. But they need to understand a little bit more about the education process. Because I had a number of individuals, and they weren't happy with the school their child was in. I'm not going to judge the school. I don't know what the circumstances are. I don't know what the individual requirements are of the child, but they weren't happy. And I said, well, maybe we have one of the best charter schools in the city of Nashua. And I said, you might want to consider that. I can't afford that tuition. I said, no, that's a public school. Your child's entitled to go to that. Really? I said, absolutely. You need to check into it.
And they all think, they don't know that there's a lottery there. It's they always think it's the people that are paying something that get in, and the other ones just
It's not the one with the deepest pockets that gets their children in.
Right. And even now, there's a way of getting scholarships from that business not tax, but it's well, I don't know what you call it. It's like the businessmen make a contribution for their taxes. And that fund goes in there, and they're just, that's a lottery too. So they get people that can't afford lunch money even. That can get into it.
Your economic status has nothing to do with whether you're eligible or not. And I think today, this is 2020. The changes in technology are continuous.
Right.
Right. And we've seen a dramatic change in how children are educated at home. You can go online, you can join classes, all of that exists. Why we would narrow this down to one single choice for people with such a diverse population of educational needs in families, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It just doesn't. So to answer your question, I'm not really sure right now.
Okay, education is one that needs some good people, and some of the other ones, the Health and Human Services, which is the biggest one up there, that takes over 40% of the budget.
Right, right.
And there's a lot of things that go on there. But there's every one of them's interesting in a different way.
Yeah,
and needs good people. I served on the Public Works, and that didn't have as many bills, but the bills they had were multi-million-dollar, billion
Yeah, I was
dollars.
going to say that. That's some pretty serious spending.
So it's a little bit different, but they're good. They're good places to learn about what's happening in this state.
Yeah, hopefully it's things that I want to know and not things that I don't want to know about. But yeah, I mean, as far as choosing a committee, I haven't decided yet. I need more information.
Well, it's good. You got the right approach. You're looking around. You're trying to see what goes on, what one maybe you could contribute the most to from your experience.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I think that's. I mean, I was in finance when I was working, so I can go there. I ran the manufacturing operation for 12 years. So I mean, as far as the diversity of skills, I mean.
Well, finance is one too. That's one of the tougher ones because they are the last one and they get to see all the bills.
Yeah, Tim Twombly told me about that. It's like, you might want to stay away from that one on your first term. And I said, yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah, unless you're really a nut for that kind of work.
I tolerated
they need good people.
Yeah.
And generally what happens is a person has 1 or 2 terms and then they decide to get on there because they have a background.
Yeah, you got to build a knowledge base to be able to be, you know, I don't want to be a burden on a committee. So yeah, I'll take your advice on that. I'd probably stay away from it, but watch it closely.
Yeah, the other one is, and that's Bill Ohm's committee, is what is it now? It's the one that looks for the how they're going to get the money.
Right.
Okay.
Appropriations?
No, it's not called appropriations. Right now, I just can't think of the word.
Go ahead.
But anyway, that one has a lot of things to do. When we were in 2020, when the Republicans last had their supermajority, that committee sent this. They had to find at least $1 billion savings from what they had projected originally, and they were able to do that. They said, okay, this is the money we're going to go to, and we'll split it up the way we think you're going to need it. And if you don't, if you want to move it around, it's fine, but you got to find out where you're going to take it from because we're not getting any more.
Right.
And that's the way, you budget it anyway. You know what your income is and you know what you can spend.
A business budget, I ran a couple of businesses also. My home budget, if you continue to spend more money than you can earn, and you're supplementing it with borrowing, that's a recipe for disaster. Eventually, it's going to come back to get you.
And that's what you have to watch too, not only in the state, but in the local area, because the bonds that they send out is a way of borrowing money.
And it's not free.
Yeah. But that's it's interesting up there, and you'll meet a lot of people that you like, and you'll meet some you won't like.
No, I'm pretty easy on getting along with people. I mean, I've traveled around the world.
Oh yeah,
I've met hundreds of people. I've been in some tough situations with mergers and acquisitions where you got a hostile labor force that doesn't want to work with you after the acquisition.
Right.
And part of my job was to go in and work with them.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not a person I'm not an attacker. I'll always try to look at the good side and see if we can come to common ground. Which brings me to a discussion we had this morning with Pete. There seems to be this butting of the heads, and one side wants to get to common ground, and the other side says, no, this is the marching order, and this is what we're going to do. So in the back of my mind, I'm saying to myself, that's something I might want to brush up on. Because in order for New Hampshire residents to get what they need and to move the state forward where it needs to be, we got to have common ground. We can't have a one-sided negotiation.
Right.
It's not going to work.
Right. Well, it's going to be hard to please everybody anyway. You got to try to find if both of them don't like you or both of them like you.
Well, I mean, in my negotiation training, it's if you can get to 75%, everybody wins.
Yeah.
You're never going to get to 100.
Right.
If you do, you better question why you got there.
Yeah.
So if you can get to 75%, everybody can win.
There's something in there I missed.
Right, yeah, oh yeah. Somebody's hiding something. I need to go back to the table. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I had that operation too, in a way, but it's something else. How's you working all by yourself? Or do you have some helpers that go around helping you?
Oh, So I'm working with Sean Connor.
Oh, okay.
And the three of us. So in Ward 7, there's myself, Jackie Casey, and Dee Hogan, who she was in 3 terms?
Oh, more than that.
3 or 4 terms. Yeah. But anyway, she. So we're all working together. Right. We were just in there in the office today, putting all of the literature together. We've got a bunch of volunteers going out. I'm kind of on the fence with volunteers. It's great that they're going to go out and put the literature out and make sure everybody knows who the 3 candidates are. But I'd like to meet the people and ask them for my vote. Mm-hmm. So I'm probably going to duplicate where they've been and the people that they've talked to. Mm-hmm. So, and I told them that, and they said, "Well, that's okay. We're still going to take your literature and go out." So we help.
It's nice. I mean, it's hard to get everybody out, out who's out there because people are doing things. Yeah. Although now they're mostly.
Yeah, I think. One of the things that's happened today, and something I try my best not to do, is to spring something on somebody at the last minute and expect them to make a commitment.
Yeah,
that's tough.
Yeah.
So I mean, if people are calling saying, hey, can you give me a hand this afternoon at 2:00? I'm going to go walk the neighborhood. Yeah. You're probably going to get a no. Yeah. So I've let people know in advance. This is what we're going to be doing, and so I've got three people. 3 people on Saturday, and I think 2 or 3 people on Sunday.
Well, how can our audience contact you if they want to contact you and ask you some questions?
I think the best option right now is to go to my website at votecharliehall.com, all lowercase. Just votecharliehall.com. You can go on there. You can click on the upper right-hand corner, Did you know? And it gives them some information. My homepage tells them my phone number.
Tell them about that Did You Know? That sounds very good.
So this was interesting because, I really appreciate Beth's tenacity to keep pushing me to get something done and do this. And we were talking back and forth about the Facebook page is fairly easy, right? You can post things on there. And early on in the campaign, I told her, I'm not attacking my opponents. What they think they're doing is right. And if that's what they want to do, I'm fine with it. But it may not satisfy me and other people in the ward. Mm-hmm. So it's much better for me to put out a positive message and make sure people understand what I want to do and how I want to do it and what I can do for them. That my job is, they're the customer and I'm the provider. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been lost a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I'm hearing that from the people I've been talking to.
So they don't know what's happened up there.
Well, yeah, because so what I did was I put some things out there and it says, "Did you know?" And so there's some things published out there. And I was talking to a couple of folks yesterday, and I'm not argumentative either. Mm-hmm. I just as soon let them get their own information. So I told them I'm a fact finder. You can tell me something, but I'm going to go verify it, and I won't repeat it until I verify it. So I said, "Here's what I want you to do. Go on my website, go look at and click on, Did you know?" Because we were talking about, would you like a nice income tax, a sales tax? Mm-hmm. Well, no. I said, be careful what you vote for then, because if you vote and you're not voting for me, you may get something you don't want. Right. And I said, in the last session, and in the last 2 years, you are going to get a whole lot of stuff you don't want. You need to go on there and take a look at what's there. And I said, every one of those House bills and every one of those Senate bills, those bills were vetoed to protect you, and it was by Governor Sununu.
Right.
So go look at it. Take this, if you want to verify it, take the Senate bill, go on the general court, plug it in and read it. You'll be stunned at what was going on. I was, and I'm running.
Which one was the most stunning to you, or which 2 or 3?
I think the red flag law.
Uh-huh.
I would say 2 of them, because those were the
Right.
ones that I went up initially, the first few that I took a look at. And I think when you first read the beginning of the text, I went, this seems very good.
Yeah.
I mean, our most vulnerable people, if they need protection, of course,
Sure.
I would vote for this. Until I started getting down a little deeper into the text and realized that it really didn't have anything to do with the person that was causing harm. It had to do with confiscating your guns, search and seizure, going into your house with no warrant. Right. So the law-abiding citizen was really the person that this bill was designed to go after,
right.
Not the most vulnerable. That's why I concluded, you made an oath on the Bible, and now you're violating it.
Then they took the rights away from them.
Exactly. So that was probably one of the worst. I think there were 4 or 5
Well, I was wondering about
violations in there.
what the big thing they were pushing there was the parental leave and the insurance.
Oh,
for
the
that.
tax?
That was something too, right?
Yeah.
The one that
You can call it anything you want, but when you force me to give the government money, it's a tax.
right. It's a tax.
And again, now you have another bill that went through that whole process, gets to the governor's desk, vetoed.
right.
What?
And the thing was that the governor had his own plan, which was voluntary
Exactly.
and run just like an insurance
Yep.
company would. If you want it, you can do it, and you could pay for it. That's your choice. But the other thing that was in there too that bothered me was the fact that fee, quote unquote, was regulated by the bureaucracy.
Yeah. Do you really? That's a good point, because when you look at, would that money actually end up where it was designated to be? It didn't look like it.
And it was controlled, no control by the law at all.
Right.
By the people that were elected.
Right.
So I don't know how they thought that was ever going to get through. I mean, there were so many flags on it.
Has anybody actually calculated the cost of the taxpayers for putting all of those bills through?
Oh, God,
It's got to be thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
And
somebody did that, but then that got into a big thing. Oh, you did too much here and too much there, and not enough here. And,
Yeah.
You know, so it got to be just a...
But I mean, the simple way to look at this is all of the bills that went through that got vetoed,
Yeah.
a much better bill that would have passed was lost.
Oh, yeah. True.
So, and for 10 months, I was watching this going on, and most everything didn't pass. I don't think the taxpayers got a fair deal.
No.
So,
No, they didn't get a fair deal at all because, a lot of stuff was just overlooked. Or
Right.
just swept under the rug and hidden somehow. But, I'm looking forward to you getting elected up there and causing a little bit of a thought process.
I have a tendency to convincing people to go to my side because it's a lot easier.
It sounds like you have the background that will be very appreciated up there.
I think one of the things I want to share with the voters too, and it doesn't matter what ward you're in or even what party you're in. I went through the primary, although we didn't have any Republican contenders. There's
Right.
three slots in Ward 7, and there were 3 of us. But to learn it, I wanted to go through the whole thing, and even the ballot counting. And I want to assure the voters, no matter what you hear on TV, your vote in the state of New Hampshire, specifically in Nashua, that process that they have in Nashua is bulletproof. If you correctly fill out your request form for an absentee ballot, send that ballot in, I can guarantee you your vote is going to count.
Right.
If you go to the
And you
vote,
fill it out correctly.
right, and if you go to Dr. Crisp's school in Ward 7 and you cast your vote,
Yeah.
it's counted. I was unbelievably impressed how that was managed, how secure it was, and how everybody in there.
And they do it quickly too, and it's accurately.
The primary wasn't so quick because there were a lot more absentee ballots. I was talking with Steve Negron and he left. And I said, I'll hang around. I want to see how this works. I'll give you a call and let you know what the outcome is. So after it closed at 8. Typically it's like 8:30.
Yeah.
So 8:30 went by and they were still handling absentee ballots because there were so many. Quarter of 9, and now they're calling. What's going on? Where are you? I said, they're still counting. And it wasn't until almost 9:30, quarter of 10, and they were all waiting for me at the country club. But even still, they were bringing them. Nobody was rushing around. There was no confusion. I was impressed. I really was.
A lot of times those people have been there for a number of years, so they're experienced at it too.
Yeah.
And it is interesting. Another part of it too is that a lot of these votes are coves. I don't know if you've seen them in the past, but it's not unusual to have 3 or 4 of the candidates to have a recount. And they have to go through it physically, and then there's 4 people that do that when they go through and count them by hand. And it's interesting to see how some people can mess up enough that the votes don't cancel.
The other thing I learned in the primary was when I went through the actual vote count for myself.
Yeah.
And then you took a look at where people were at, the rest of the ballot where they voted. I would ask the voters to start voting from the bottom of the ballot
I get it.
and work their way up, because if you don't vote, why I'm running,
Right.
would I have run for Senate? No.
Yeah.
But the reason your representative, there's 400 of them in the state of New Hampshire, that is your voice in Concord.
Right.
And if you don't vote for your representative, your voice isn't going to get heard because they're not going to get elected because you didn't vote for them.
Right.
And people stop, they get down, they don't go to the down ballot candidates, and they don't vote for the representatives.
That's a very good comment, very apropos for the situation.
Yeah,
because I never heard that before, but that's a good thing because you want those people down there.
Right.
And you want the people that you vote for the county offices too, because they have some control over your taxes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
well, we've run out of time. And Charlie, thank you very much. I can't wait to see you up there in Concord. I think you're going to make a good representative for
Thank you, Carl.
Ward 7.
Thanks for inviting me. Really appreciate it.
Quite welcome.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.